Hello, I'm here with Renee. And Renee, tell us about yourself and what you do and
Okay.
all of that stuff. Yeah.
I'm a clinical practicing herbalist, and I like to say it that way because what comes after that gets crazy. So I'm a clinical practicing herbalist that specializes in critical care and cancer care, usually fourth stage or like the cases that are like there's no more allopathic care offered to them. Although I would take care of your toe fungus or a common cold if you wanted me to. But I'm also a traditional healer, and I come from an unbroken line of healers. And it's something that has been instilled upon me since I was born, that we are to be in service and that the earth will provide everything that we need. I was taught to be self-sufficient and that we need to provide care for all beings. It doesn't matter what kind of beings. And that I really was brought up in that the more traditional side before the clinical side came.
Can I ask what tradition?
Sure. We can talk about the different diasporas. It's going to be
This maybe a
no. It's good. I got you. Like we got it. It's okay. Well, you can see from like looking at me, like I have all different things on. Yeah, I have several things going on here.
I mean, we're like that here in this country.
Right. Literally, that's why I said, well, it's going to be a little sketchy. Okay. So we can do it this way. From a like a lineage standpoint, that there 70%, 69 point something percentage of my DNA comes from Northern European type, like think like Nordic Lapland culture, and that traditionally encompasses where we get the word shaman from. The Tungus tribe has the word shaman, and generally women are the very strong shamans in those traditions, and generally they were herbalists that were just using things provided by the earth to evaluate, have a system of evaluation, and decide whether it's soulful care or whether it's herbal care. There's a whole string of healers within that are at levels 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If you get to, and this it's like this in many cultures. If you get to like level 12, then you're speaking to the people who come from the skies. But you might have a normal herbalist, that like a kitchen witch type of herbalist, if you were a lower healer down at the bottom. And it's just the place that is our strong suit and that we love to be. It's not a ranking more than just a way to show what you do. So in that way, I was just kind of brought up that way. And the way that we think about it is that most farmers are like that. Like they're biodynamic, and people think it's like this thing like permaculture. And it's like, no, they're looking at the stars and they're looking at the seasons and they're watching the animals and they're deciding when the food is going to come up. And that's really what we would call a witch now, which is ridiculous, but that is what it is. And so in that matter, I was a farm family meant to be in service and told and taught that everything I need is provided from the earth. So in that case, from genetic line, that's on both sides, goes all the way back. That's not a question. And so the majority of my from heritage teaching and herbalism is what we would call European herbalism or Western herbalism, which is anything from like the Blue Ridge on up.
Right.
My family's been in the tropics since the 1600s. And so my medicine that's going to be like island, African, tropical, anything on either side of the equator is my strongest medicine, like pirate medicine or slave medicine. So weirdly, that's my strongest medicine, my tropical medicine, the medicine I don't look like genetically.
Right.
And so I'm known for that. So when you look at like my seeds and my beads, you see that, like I have an obligation to, if we're going to do any spiritual medicine, I have an obligation to represent that or ask for that help. So if you look at these, you'll see that like going on. These come from South America, but they also is a Chinese tradition, and they're also called corn seeds by the Cherokee. So when you see it like that, you're like, oh. Also, they're Job's tears. We use them in formulas all the time clinically. So that's the kind of thing you start to look at it, and you're like, oh, this is from the Lapland culture. These men are protecting me that are in that bone, and this is a reindeer bone, and that deer is protecting me. But also, wouldn't I be protected by the deer woman if I was coming out of a Cherokee tradition, which would be the corn seeds? Like you see how it starts to overlap?
Yes.
Yeah, and so it's super funny when it's like that. Now, I was raised that way, and all of the First Nations people that were in the area that my family came to that kept us alive, those traditions were present even in my food making. And so I'm definitely I would never cultural appropriation. I would never say I'm a Mikasuki or a Creek herbalist or anything like that. But those were the traditions that kept us alive. So they were just naturally passed. So the tropical medicine is strong. And so it's weird, like how it kind of overlaps. Like it just is the way that it is. And when you see how it overlaps with like now we're speaking from the Blue Ridge, and this is a bunch of different nations affiliations but fall under Cherokee. So when you see like my Cherokee corn seeds and you see how they're a different color, that's because that was passed and they want these colors because it means this thing harvested at this time, which is good farming and good biodynamics, which is back to where I came from. So it's really a weird thing. And so the South American side, so if you go to the equator and you go to the latitude lines on that side that match the latitude lines on this side, that medicine is very strong in me too, even though it's South America, because it's the same plants. So if it boils down to the plants give us everything we know, and I listen to the plants, it doesn't matter whether they're on my side. Yeah.
Yeah, it can be from a whole range of, which makes sense.
Yeah, it does. And so my strongest belief is in bioregionalism. The idea that we're right here and I'm breathing and eating and drinking right here, and the earth went through the same trauma that we went through. And so the plants that are growing right now are going to be the ones that we need the most. And if we just listen to these beings that are sentient and above us, that we will see exactly what we need in our formulations, even from a clinical standpoint. I've been a teacher most of my life, even when I was younger, that we had a lot of children and youngins in the family, and I was one of the oldest. And so the idea of that, my mother was a teacher, but just being an educator, passing on knowledge is really what it is, like being an elder to somebody. We're all an elder to someone, that someone's like younger than us and we have more knowledge. And so I grew up teaching. By the time I was in my middle years, like going into being 20, it was very evident that I knew something that normal kids didn't know. I just was one of those things where like, oh, like our lunch boxes look different kind of thing. Yeah, like it was just like, oh, you guys don't, like, I don't know what that is, and I don't get Little Debbie's, but here's this that was made in my backyard. And so it was clear that we were dealing with things more naturally than average, raised by hippies proper, like they were proper good hippies. And so the idea around that was just a natural path to be a caregiver and to be a teacher. So I've had a school forever and ever. My school now is the 4 Element School of Traditional Medicine. And it's something that we teach clinical herbalism as well as traditional medicine, which is something kind of like as if we're handing down the elder knowledge for your diaspora. Like we want to make sure what you are strongest in gets enhanced and pushed forward. And so that's something that we do both clinical and traditional medicine. And so that's something I'm very comfortable with. And it's something that I think is important for right now, that we feel sovereign and self-sufficient and that we can care for ourselves, even if the stores aren't open.
Yeah.
That's really... And so I think that's important that everybody gets that knowledge. Because of that, I run a lot of free things. I do like clinical things like we're doing today.
Yeah.
And I run a lot of like teach street medic and protest medic care. And I could help you set up a food pantry if you want to. Like I teach that kind of organization. But I also specialize in cancer care because our allopathic care,
it's not, oh my gosh. Yeah.
It's not exactly where we want it to be. I would love it for acute, like my arm's broken in half or I'm having a heart attack.
Very good for that.
Yep, absolutely. And then I'll be more than happy to help you recover from the treatment you received to keep you alive.
I mean, I have like 3 chronic illnesses, so they basically can't do too much for me. When my iron was super low, they were because I couldn't take any of like the herbal supplements because they all have nettle in it and it's a diuretic, and it was just I can take it because of my other chronic illness, and then I couldn't take the over-the-counter pills because of, they cause constipation, and from my other chronic illness.
You should come and see me.
Well, I was thinking about it because I'm a bit of a mess, but they were able to give me IV iron. And so then my body was able to build the blood.
It. Yeah.
And that worked beautifully. And that was Western medicine.
Right.
And it's not a transfusion. Your body just makes your own blood.
Yeah. It's support. It's just bypassing your digestive system and the filtration.
Amazing. Like I got a little stomach funny when I was doing it, didn't want to really eat anything. It went from like a 6 to a 10, which is, my doctor literally called me on the phone. He was like, you were dying. It was like death. And I was like, yeah, I was wondering why I felt worse than normal.
Very tired. Yeah.
Hard to breathe.
Oh no, that's terrifying.
You
That
know.
means you're actually not oxygenating properly, so there's not
it
enough
was,
hemoglobin.
It was crazy.
Yeah.
So stuff like that, you know, operations. Western medicine is terrible about all the other things.
Well, I think it's the separation. I think that one thing that my family always instilled in me, especially like think farm families, is that community is everything. And I think it's the separation, like our body organ systems work together, and they've systematically in the past 100 years or so divided it all up, so nobody's talking to the other one about it. And if you speak to a doctor, especially one that's in a teaching hospital, they'll tell you half of everything they learn in school nowadays they would consider wrong, and the textbooks just haven't changed. And the idea of us using that as our major medical system is just not acceptable. And one of the things I talk to the students about is I always tell them that we didn't get billions of people on the planet because herbal medicine doesn't work. Like, how did we make it this far with millions and billions of people? And then all of a sudden, in the past 60, 70, 80 years, all of a sudden, this is our end-all be-all?
Yeah.
Like, it's a weird concept to think that we've changed so much in like a 70-year period. And now we're saying, oh, those aren't any good. Well, how do you think we stayed alive all of this time? Like billions of people.
Right, exactly.
And so it's the idea of us separating from the outside, separating from the plants, separating from the elements, from the animals, makes it so we have lost knowledge. And I just want to make sure that anything that I ever was instilled with, I give to others, no matter what, to the day that I die. That if all of you were sovereign and could care for each other, then that means there's someone there to care for me, and we would not need anything. We could all take care of each other.
Yeah, we've really lost a lot of that connection.
Yes. Yeah, and I think that's important.
Yeah.
The basis of the traditional school and the basis of our herbal school, our clinical school, is that it's never just toe fungus. If it's just toe fungus, why is it only on that toe on that side? Why isn't it on all of the toes? And why do you have this itch up here that goes with it at the same time?
Yeah.
It's like nothing's ever separate. We're never separate. We're in community no matter what. So that's the basis of how we talk about it. And so you not being able to take that iron is completely correct for what your other body parts were doing in the filtration of it.
But I desperately needed the iron.
Totally. And so don't we want that? Some of the best situations I get in is integrative care. And we fall on the line of, like, other herbalists don't want us to have integrative care, and then other doctors don't want us to have integrative care, and really we need to come together and work together. Yeah,
I definitely agree with that, and yeah.
I think that that's an important lesson to learn and to teach, and that it's like we want everybody at the party. We want everybody coming to the party, and then we want choices. If we had free choices and somebody was willing to talk to you about it, we would all be okay. And I've done really well with my specialty is cancer care, and the idea, neurology and cancer care, and the idea around, I have really had doctors put up with me, where if they speak to me just a little bit, they understand I'm not going to cause harm. And so the idea of they're willing to let me in and share clients, we have to call them clients, not patients, share clients and help me adjust with them. I've done great. I've had a lot of doctors, especially if they're from teaching, like they're exploratory, that they've wanted to work together and be integrative for sure. And we've been very, very successful. So it's something that's like, it's a good thing to think about. And the other thing is, I want to know, I want the diagnostics, I want the x-rays, I want the MRIs, I want to know all the information, and then let me do something with it. So I think it's all about choice and being sovereign.
Yeah.
Community.
Definitely.
Yeah.
All right, well, tell us where, where on the web people can find out more information about your school and about yourself, and, I'll put all the links.
Sure. So I just actually, because of some protest care, had all my social media shut down.
Oh no.
Which is okay. It's okay because we're getting it back. So we just have a new Facebook that just started back up. That is the 4 Elements School.
Okay.
And so that's fine. But you can always go to my website, which is 4 Elements School of Traditional Medicine, or 4 Elements School.
Okay.
And look me up. My name's Renee Prince. You can always find me that way too. And the American Herbalist Guild has me listed, and you can find me, and somebody there could find me. And that's our professional governing body for the nation. And so everybody should go there anyways, and like just see the free stuff that's there. So find me on the American Herbalist Guild site if you can't find me through 4 Elements School. Okay.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.